Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Carol Mathis, thank you very much for last night and organizing everything. Anyway, it was good to see everybody and just kind of relax for a little bit. That was great. And is Brenda here? Brenda, just want to thank you for everything you did yesterday. It was really well done. We are going to pick up and close out the workshop from yesterday. And I believe, Ms. Mitchell, you are going first with your director's item.
Yes, thank you. Just a number of announcements, actually. First of all, I just wanted to remind everybody that this is actually Tri-Transit Week, and we do have a number of promotions that are going on right now, including a contest to win a pair of Amtrak tickets and free transit for a year at tritransit.org. We also had a great event yesterday. Thank you to everybody who came to Main Street Station. But again, we're celebrating 10 years of state-sponsored passenger rail service. And as part of that, we also do have a promotion of $10 Amtrak fares from October 1st to October 10th for anywhere in Virginia, including Washington, D.C. So we're very excited about that as well. We had two major milestones over the past 2 weeks. The first was that we got our record of decision for DC to RVA, which was a 5-year environmental impact statement for a 121-mile corridor. We just got the record of decision from FRA 2 weeks ago. It also gives us the ability to begin design and construction activities on our Atlantic Gateway projects and our fourth track project between Alexandria and DC. We also published, or DDOT published the draft environmental impact statement for Longbridge, which is out for public comment right now. There will be a public hearing on October 22nd, and we're still looking forward to hopefully getting a record of decision on that by the fall of next year. Speaking of rail and the I-95 corridor as well, yesterday at the Rail Committee, we had Danny Plogger from the Virginians for High-Speed Rail came to our meeting to present us with this petition. Over 1,100 people signed in support of rail alternatives in the I-95 corridor. So he came to personally deliver that to me and the secretary at the Rail Committee, but I did want to make you all aware that we had received that as well. And just a note about our Amtrak ridership for this month, we've actually, August 29th, or 2019, was the highest single month of Amtrak ridership that we've had in our history. So with 96,942 riders in August, so we're very excited about that. Our year-to-date ridership is up 8.3% since last year. So still looking good for our ridership for 2019. And that's all I've got.
That's a very good report.
Thanks. Thanks.
Any questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Commissioner.
Good morning. I'd like to start off and go back to yesterday's set of presentations that we gave. I brought the team in today, those that could make it in, and share some recognition with them. Certainly a lot of work went into those two presentations over the last 8 months. We still have some work ahead of us to be able to get us set for the October board meeting with special structures and our ordinary maintenance. But the team that was able to come in, I've got a list of names that I'm going to read, and I'm going to ask them to at least come up to the podium so that we have the full recognition of the team, and then I'll get it back into the rest of my my report back. So Marcy Parker, while she was serving in the role of the Chief of Maintenance and Operations in a temporary status, certainly was the ringleader in pulling this effort together. She's back in serving as the district administrator for the Fredericksburg district. So first off, thank you, Marcy, for pulling the team together and getting it started. I do need to say Jennifer Allen needs to come up, and certainly she was the impetus for getting the team pulled together with Marcy, and I'll call them the dynamic duo, to be able to pull what we have together. Dale Totten from our Lynchburg district, our district maintenance engineer. David Pierce, Culpeper District Maintenance Engineer, Robbie Prezioso, the Fredericksburg District Maintenance Engineer, and Sean Nelson, our Richmond District Maintenance Engineer as well. Rob Alexander.
I keep forgetting that you are not in Fredericksburg.
Yeah.
I go, wait a minute, what are you doing? Yeah, sorry. Every day. I just remember that first introduction, so.
Carlos, we're adding people to the Richmond district right now. We're not just taking away.
Yeah, you got a good one.
So Rob Alexander, who serves as our Central Region Regional Operations Director, Margie Ray from OIPI, and Tanvir Chowdhury, who's our lead state pavements engineer. Some other, to be specific with our pavement team members, we have Hong Jung An, Raja Shakaran, Lily Fitzora, and Kaylin Assam. I'm not sure if any of, they're all back. So they're out of the central office. Our state bridge engineer, getting in on the bridge side, Ken Wallace. Ken serves as our state bridge engineer. He did, Mr. Kasprowitz, that I forgot to introduce him yesterday, so I apologize for that. But Ken serves as a state bridge engineer, and Adam Mateo, our assistant state bridge engineer, who served in the capacity to be running many of those models that you saw on the maintenance, on the bridge structure side. Our bridge team members, Rex Pierce from the Stanton Bridge engineer, Dean Hackett, Salem, Gary Runko from Northern Virginia, and Todd Springer from our central office team. And then we were also joined by a team of consultants that we have with us to be able to support this initiative. Gareth McKay, certainly from WSP. Gareth, if you could. Barbara Reese assisted us. Deborah Brown with WSP. Tom Pelnick with Ernst & Young. And Leif Dormsko from Lewis Berger. So there is certainly a team of people that were behind what you saw yesterday, the team of people to be able to move forward with the next two presentations. But certainly this has been a lot of work for the last 8 months. And I think Jennifer Allen certainly deserves the credit. As we've said in the past, this was certainly herding cats to be able to get everyone together and getting the presentations pulled together. And I know that I probably have added to a lot of gray hair.
And I think I helped.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the entire team deserves a round of applause, and thank you very much.
Really, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Kasprowitz for a minute.
Well, I just want to say job well done, team. I think I made my comments yesterday about how long we've been looking for that type of analysis that combines all the variables into one very clear and easy to understand presentation and document. So you hit a home run with that yesterday, and my compliments to all of you. Thank you.
Wait for me to.
And Madam Chairwoman.
Yeah. But really, it was very well done, and it was amazing to me the amount of information that was clearly presented on those single slides. It was, you told a really important study for us, and it's going to help us transform our whole business model. So thank you all very much.
Madam Secretary, if I may, I just want to
Mr. Brown.
I know that at the end of your presentation yesterday, I asked some probably pretty uncomfortable questions, but I really want to compliment the commissioner and the team that worked with the commissioner in developing this, because it took courage to pivot and a posture that we had been undertaking for a long period of time. And I wanted to be clear that I understood that they had made that expression. And far too often we linger in the not optimal situation because individuals are afraid of challenging conventional wisdom and having that courage. And so I wanted to acknowledge it for what it was. And thank you for taking that leadership. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you, team. Really, really appreciate it. Of course, you've just begun, so. The analysis is, now the hard part really starts, so thank you.
Got a couple other comments or updates. Certainly, we have a I-64 ribbon cutting scheduled for next Thursday. Our 205 project out here at Bottoms Bridge, we'll certainly have a ribbon cutting for that. I do want to give you an update on our ferry boat. Back in September 2017, the board had taken action to be able to name the new 70-car ferry to the Powhatan. I'm happy to report that we are in receipt of the new ferry. It is a 70-car, double-ended steel hull ferry. It is undergoing Coast Guard review as we speak right now, so we're anticipating it coming into service by the end of the month. It is replacing the Virginian, which was built in 1936, which only carries 25 vehicles. Just to give you a matter of perspective, that we've been running that ferry since 1936, and that was the year that Gone with the Wind was published. And President Roosevelt was reelected to his second term. So we do have a dedication ceremony that is being scheduled right now, scheduled for September 30th.
Oh, very good.
So that's it. Just another point, happy to report that the department, as well as the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, did receive 2 awards recently, one for the bus rapid transit project out here through SASHTO, and then our second award was for our pilot innovative towing policy and program that we have here in Richmond that is using heavy vehicles or heavy tow trucks to be able to remove vehicles within a set time period. So both of those awards have been, or received both awards for the department's actions. The I-81 committee will be meeting on October 1st, October 1st. And we do have a quick update for you that recognizing that we have 64 projects that we're looking to implement over the next several years. We've advertised for a new position that would be for the 81 program manager, and we've gone through that. That person's going to be responsible for implementing those 64 projects, making sure that they're on time and on budget. I'm happy to report that we've selected Dave Covington from our Stanton district. Dave has more than 20 years of experience in the business. And most recently served as a Stanton District Maintenance Engineer. So he will be coming over and reporting to the Chief Engineer directly to be able to implement that. Dave certainly has managed a wide array of complex projects at a very large scale, most recently serving as the lead on the Route 250 and Route 29 Solutions project in Charlottesville. So Dave is going to be, after we announce it today, Dave comes on board immediately following this announcement, so he will be reporting to the chief engineer later this afternoon. And with that being said, what I'd like to do, just give you a quick update for the October board meeting, is we've had a number of changes within the organization. We've brought on Bart as the chief engineer, Kevin Gregg as the chief of maintenance and operations. Sorry, Carlos, we've had some additional changes in the Richmond district. I want to bring back and have Rob Carey present what all the organizational changes have occurred within the agency, so that you understand. We have the full picture of who's where now. We have the full executive team set, and then we've had some changes in the district. So we'll give you an update on our organizational changes as well as our VDOT of the Future project initiative. That's it.
That's it?
I'd just like to make a comment. Dave Covington worked, as you mentioned, on the 29 Solutions projects, and he did an outstanding job. I think he's a great selection for this position, and 81's in good hands with him.
I will just say that we had our first meeting on 81. Dixon, do you want to describe how many people came?
This room that held about 50 people, and we had 150 in attendance, which I think tells you it certainly gave indication of the interest up and down I-81 in this project. And so our next venue will be somewhat larger, but I believe we had 100% of the committee in present. Is that correct? That filled the room. So the next meeting, I think, will have even more substance to it, and I would expect even more interest.
And Delegate Terry Austin was named the chair, and Senator Carrico is named the vice chair of the committee. But it was very cozy, I will say. And Mr. Yates joined us, and we were glad to have you. And anyway, it was it was a robust meeting, but I do expect that it's going to be far more substantive as time goes on. I did want to just follow up with the committees. I know with the Rail Committee, is there anything that you all would like to add from Rail from yesterday? Good. The Innovation Committee, did you all meet yesterday, Mr. Kaspowitz and Mr. Rucker? So how was that meeting yesterday? Any updates for us to the board?
I thought the meeting was very informative.
I'm sorry, can you just?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought the meeting was very, very good in the sense, especially in terms of the alternate transportation modalities that were introduced. I think there's some exciting things down the pike. And it's great to see Virginia play such a significant role in moving these efforts forward. We're very excited.
Oh, great.
I would second Mr. Rucker's comments. Jen DeBrule gave a very good presentation on electric buses and automated buses. I think automation was the operative part of that. And again, back to the issue of Virginia being in the lead, we're one of 2 states really that have signed on to this first effort to create standards that will apply nationwide ultimately. So very good presentation, very exciting opportunity. And if it works out, I hope that we're part of the second phase.
Outstanding visit to a facility in Culpeper. I don't want to get the name of the court. And had an opportunity to really see.
You. Good. And I heard Mr. Rucker ask some excellent questions yesterday.
He was very
He got
good.
reported back to me.
Yeah, no, he was very good. I just wanted to add on to Allison's comments. I understand that our host, Ed Dalrymple, watches these proceedings. And so I wanted to just say thank you. It was a very good tour, and we learned about, I think, a very effective job training program that would have applications around the Commonwealth in a number of ways. Might be something that VDOT would want to participate in to a greater extent, and even training some of our equipment operators and the like. But
Yates, did you help arrange that?
Yes, I did. Ed was a great host, and we also had the gentleman from Germanna Community College who runs the program for the apprenticeships. And I think it's also in Piedmont now, and they'd like to take it statewide. I think it's a big initiative. Ed's vice chair of the community college system, going to be chair next year. So it'd be a great segue for VDOT to train some of our folks. They do a 2-year associate degree while they're being paid as interns. It's a great thing.
actually saw a real UAS requirement being used to actually survey the blast first, blast site, and then monitor the blast. So it was a good combination of technology and current business practices and the like, as well as a job training program. Very well done. Thank you, Ed.
And I'm going to try, as you know, we have 2 standing committees and we have some task forces set up. You know, we want to make sure we bring that information back to the board. And you know, Kathy McGee sat in the back of the room all day yesterday. I should have had her come up to kind of give her a report. She's not here in the back hiding anywhere, is she? Oh, is she in Atlanta? But so anyway, I should have had that. But you all, thank you for that update. I know that Mr. Brown and Mr. Yates are co-chairing a naming committee a task force, not a committee, just a short-term effort looking at how we name our roads and highways. And so what is the status of that?
Right after this meeting.
Okay.
The item on the agenda today is to talk about the policy and the approach that we'll take to evaluating requests that are made or either from governor's office or from a locality, and then we'll kind of start the process there.
Trying to be really proactive before the general Assembly reconvene. So thank you for that. I know yesterday we were trying to close out the issues regarding regulations and that process. And so I'm going to ask Ms. Maxwell to kind of come up and give us an update on where you are and what we think the next best steps would be.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we have provided to Carol, and I see I have a timer
That just shows you the love, that's all.
Hurry up.
Can I have that next time?
This morning.
Madam Chair, I've provided Carol copies of all of the regulations that we discussed yesterday. They're going to be in 3 batches. One batch deals, are the regulations we plan, or we had proposed to amend, regulations we proposed to retain as is, and then regulations we propose to repeal. Carol's going to be providing those to you. For those where we have proposed repeal that are backed by policies or DPMs, those documents have also been provided to you or will be provided. Going forward, what we would suggest is that we pull together a group of CTB members that have a strong interest in this area and that we meet prior to next month's workshop and just work out the remaining issues and then come back to the board with an informal report, and then we plan on going forward with the action in December. That still gives us time to comply with the regulatory review requirements. So that is the plan.
And I think it's a good plan going forward. It's very difficult to debate this at the board level. And so I've asked Mary Hines if she would chair this task force to kind of set the process together for us. And Mary has graciously agreed. And so for anyone who would like to be a part of that, I just ask you to see Mary, and we'll launch that task force, which we hope is very short term. And that way the board is getting, I think, a more complete picture.
Madam Chair, and then next go round, we're committed to providing you with all of the regulations and background documents far in advance. So the next go round will be due in June 2020. You will be seeing those documents probably in January or February.
Thank you. In addition to that, since Governor Northam came into office, there has been a very focused effort on being better environmental stewards. And I believe all of us across all the modes of transportation have incorporated environmental regulations, laws, and efforts, best practices into what we are attempting to do. And there's so much going on across agencies and across all the modes, and in particular with DRPT and VDOT, that I really felt that we needed a place to try to house some of this as we are moving forward in developing best practices, looking at the ways that the transportation system impacts the environment and how climate change impacts infrastructure. We've gotten some directives through the General Assembly to look at some of these issues, which actually led to the MOA with VIMS, a 3-year pilot looking at resiliency as just one particular effort. So anyway, as this was unfolding and speaking with members of the environmental community, we've decided to set up a task force to help us manage all of these issues and policies that are being recommended, and I think would help give some direction to us as a board. How do we best incorporate these ideas? And so Mr. Johnson and Mr. Kaspowitz have graciously agreed to head up this task force, which may become a longstanding committee, but right now we're looking at it as a task force, and I believe you are meeting right after the action meeting today. And so, Mr. Johnson, is there anything you would like to add at this point?
No, we are meeting immediately after this meeting, and our next meeting will be at 8 o'clock in the morning on October 16th. when we're here again in Richmond. And we're looking, as you commented, on the environmental aspects of what happens within the transportation system, whether it be sea level rise, whether it be greenhouse gases, and looking at best practices, as you mentioned. We would welcome your participation. Scott, any particular comments beyond that?
I would, again, welcome participation from anybody who'd like to join us after this meeting. I guess the only comment I have in being asked to do this, it's a big and expansive topic, and a lot of pieces in this that are critically important. So Steve and I agreed that the first couple sessions are really going to be information gathering for us to allow us to better understand the interactions and the opportunities before we come back to this board, even with a recommendation for how we'll move forward. It's a lot to assimilate, and we're up to the task, but it's going to take a little bit of time.
And so who's on the docket for today? No, I'm sorry. I was going to just say the microphone. Yeah.
Two presenters today. One is Josh Sachs, and he's a Deputy Secretary of Natural Resources, and as people recognize, they oversee all kinds of things from DEQ to wastewater treatment facilities to the Marine Resources Commission. So he's going to talk about the WIP plan, the water implementation plan that was just sent, if you will, to EPA. It's about 185 pages. We're mentioned in a couple of places within transportation in that particular plan. And then we also have Rear Admiral Ann Phillips, and she is the Special Assistant to the Governor for Coastal Adaptation and Protection. And I know she's been around in all the low-lying communities within the state, looking at sea level rise and how that plays out within transportation issues as we look at what roads we may have to consider closing and when and why, and how we spend the money effectively to recognize that the sea is coming up even on king tides, let alone what's happening with storm surges or major hurricanes. So there's a lot to be said for that. Ann Phillips has spoken on these issues before Congress. She's the keynote speaker at a conference going on November 15th at William and Mary. So looking at all these issues. So it's a pleasure to have both of them there. And we're reaching out to industry, the trucking industry. Scott's made a couple of contacts for folks to be able to visit with us. So again, it's information, and then we look beyond the information to move forward.
Just that we have Bronco with us today as well, talking about VDOT's current environmental regulations and starting to give us an introduction to that.
All those best practices, right, Bronco?
Exactly.
Yes, and it's a little bit of a different strategy. We're bringing in DRPT, VDOT, the Research Council. We're trying to bring the right people into this. It's something that we've tried to manage at the secretariat level, and there's just so much that I thought this was a way to help us all be more responsive and to see indeed if there are some good policy recommendations we can bring back to the board. And then finally with this, I know that Mr. Williams is really good about a task force. You lead it, you do the job, and then we don't need to have it anymore. But there you go. You were always looking for that. But you were also working on an idea for a short-term task force. And do you want to just mention what that is?
We're just looking at there's a fairly large differentiation between how VDOT administers projects and how local governments administer VDOT projects. Qualify the counties or cities to manage the projects, and we review the qualifications and allow many of them to do it. Let's just say we haven't had the same level of success in terms of awarding on time, in terms of staying in budget, in terms of completion on time, in terms of safety. I mean, it's the gamut. So there's a disconnect there somewhere, and we're going to look into what caused the disconnect and what's the best practice moving forward. Back when VDOT was trying to get as lean as they could, regardless of whether they were hurting themselves doing it, and we've had those periods in VDOT, a lot of this local administered project concept was pushed, and they were encouraged to do it. I just think we need to take another hard look direction. Who does it well, who doesn't, adopt some best practices from the ones that do, that sort of thing. No big red flashing lights yet, so nobody needs to get tore up about it.
Much really good, thoughtful work getting done. So I just thank you all. And with that, we will go into the action meeting. Is there anyone here? Do we have anyone signed up?
Anyone here?
Type? I'm sorry, I didn't have a list, but there you go. Good morning.
Morning, Madam Chairman, members of the board. I've been a regular attendee of your meetings and realize safety is a big issue for you all. And I didn't want this to go by, but the Federal Highway Administration has announced September 16th to the 20th as National Roundabout Week. And you get to poking around on roundabouts. And you realize the safety factors, the fuel economy, and just the general flow and calming of traffic is a tremendous asset to any community. And one of the things I didn't know that the Federal Highway Administration says it eliminates 75% of the crashes, reduces 75% of the crashes, and fatal and severe injuries are down 81% wherever you have a roundabout as opposed to an intersection. So I just couldn't let it go by without you all telling you about it, and just think it's a great idea. One of the best things about it is you can build them in two fine paving products, either asphalt or concrete. Thank you all very much.
Our communications people know that it was, yes, National Roundabout Week? Well, I didn't know. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. We appreciate it. It's the only person who signed up, but, you know, as always, if anybody here would like to address the board, we certainly invite you. Okay, and with that, do I have a motion on the minutes? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Thank you. So I understand we have Marcia Field this morning. Good morning.
I'm presenting for Susan. I'm presenting for the Route 28 and Dulles Toll Road Greenway study. And VDOT is seeking approval for the CTB for the agreement between VDOT, Fairfax, and Loudoun County, Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority, and the private operator for the Dulles Greenway Toll Road, the Toll Road Investment Partnership, on a Route 28 and Dulles Toll Road Greenway study. This agreement defines the scope of work, the commitment and responsibilities of each of the parties, including the financial commitments. This study is jointly funded by the parties listed and the following financial responsibilities: VDOT for $450,000, Fairfax County for $100,000, Loudoun County for $100,000, the Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority for $100,000, the Toll Road Investment Partnership for $100,000. The Route 28 Dulles Toll Road Greenway study will assess traffic operations and safety considerations and identify solutions for the Route 28 Dulles Toll Road Greenway interchange area. The solutions are needed to address ongoing congestion in this stretch of Route 28, particularly during the peak travel periods. The study area includes 3 miles of Route 28 between Frying Pan Road and Route 846, which is Sterling Boulevard, 2.5 miles of Route 267, which is Dulles Toll Road, between Route 657, Centerville Road, Eden Street, and Dulles Greenway Toll Road Plaza, west of Route 28, and 2 miles of Dulles Airport Access Road, between Route 657, Centerville Road, Eden Street, and Reuter Road. VDOT is analyzing existing conditions, including safety and operation at key interchanges and intersections, changes in roadway conditions, and evolving land development patterns and projected traffic growth. The study will identify alternative improvement concepts and anticipated cost, and will analyze future no-build and build scenarios looking as far out as year 2025 and year 2045. To date, the team has collected data, assessed existing conditions, and conducted traffic studies, and engaged in stakeholder coordination. Close coordination and collaboration with stakeholders and public involvement will be important aspects of this study and will help build consensus among key stakeholders for solutions both in the near term and in the future. And the study is scheduled to be completed in the year 2020.
Thank you.
Secretary, I move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, well done. Julie Brown. Good morning.
Morning, Madam Chairman, members of the board. I have one action item for you this month. Henry County Board of Supervisors previously requested economic development access funds to provide access to the Kilgore Industries in the Patriot Center in Beaver Creek. The access road project was not constructed, and the county has informed us this development will not occur, and they have requested that the access road project be canceled. We therefore seek the board's approval to rescind the prior $650,000 Economic Development Access Road Fund allocation.
Probably voted no on that. I was right.
Can I say that I think I may have said to Ms. Brown that we should save these for when Mr. Williams is on vacation. Mr. Smoot.
That's right. Yes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Question.
Mr. Miller.
I recall previously in some of these that we sort of had a sunset provision. You use it by this point or you give it up. Do we use those or do we just sort of?
So this is a bonded project. So they have a 5-year bonded period that they have to identify investment or pay us back the money. But we are under the unusual situation right now that the General Assembly provided a moratorium. So even though we do have some bonded projects, technically they have a grace period until that moratorium ends.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Classic. Good morning.
Madam Secretary, Commissioner, and CTB board members, I have 3 decision briefings before you today. Decision briefing number 1 is from the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, Culpeper District. Approval of the Commonwealth Transportation Board is sought by Albemarle County for the naming of the bridge on Route 1403 Berkman Drive over South Fork of the Rivanna River, Albemarle County, as the Rio Mills Bridge. The Albemarle County Board of Supervisors wishes to recognize the historic events that created the Rio Mills community. The Rio Mills community was established in the 1820s when William H. Merriweather built a mill downstream from the present-day South Rivanna Reservoir Dam. The construction of the additional water-powered mills, producing significant amounts of flour, cornmeal, and lumber, marked Rio Mills as an important local industry. The covered bridge and grist mill located there were burnt in 1864 following the Battle of Rio Mills during the Civil War. VDOT supports the request, and Ms. DeBunk, would you like to offer some comments?
Thank you. Just as a matter of correction, in terms of the name of the bridge, it's Rio Mills. But that's okay. It's just one of those local things. But
Classic understands that perfectly.
but I make a motion to support.
Second.
All those in favor, please stand.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, Decision briefing number 2 is from the Lee County Board of Supervisors, Bristol District. Approval of the Commonwealth Transportation Board is sought by Lee County for the commemorative naming of the bridge on Route 621, Cave Spring Road over the Powell River, Lee County, as the J.R. Swanson Riddle Memorial Bridge. The Lee County Board of Supervisors wishes to honor the life, service, and ultimate sacrifice of Sergeant John Robert Swanson Riddle. Sergeant Riddle was born near Dryden in Lee County. At a young age, he enlisted in the U.S. Army, obtaining the rank of sergeant with a specialty of light weapons infantry. Sergeant Riddle was killed in action by hostile small arms fire in Binh Dinh province in South Vietnam. He was just 23 years old and the second Lee Countian to fall in Vietnam. Sergeant Riddle is also honored on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Washington Bridge. VDOT supports this request, and Mr. Smoot, would you like to offer some comments, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would, first of all, offer my enthusiastic support for this, and let me say that my only regret is it's taken 53 years for this hero to be recognized, and I make a motion, ma'am.
Decision briefing number 3 is from the Prince George's County Board of Supervisors, Richmond District, commemorative naming of the roundabout at the intersection of Route 634, Allen Road, and State Route 106, Courthouse Road, Prince George's County, as the Private First Class Michael M. Carey Memorial Roundabout. The Prince George's County Board of Supervisors would like to memorialize the life and service and ultimate sacrifice of Private First Class Michael M. Carey. Private First Class Carey attended Hopewell High School. He enlisted in the United States Marine Corps at the age of 16 with parental signature. He attended boot camp when he was 17. Private First Class Carey was part of the initial military invasion of Operation Enduring Freedom after the 9/11 attacks. Private First Class Michael M. Carey was killed in action on May 18, 2014 in Al-Anbar, Iraq, during his second tour of duty. VDOT supports this request, and Mr. Brown, would you like to offer some comments?
Enthusiastically endorse this naming and recognition of this young individual who met his call to service. So moved.
Morning, Madam Secretary, members of the board. I have 2 items for your consideration today. The first is the amendment of several projects to the 6-year improvement program. I'll point a couple out for you. The Route 28 project that you've heard a presentation about yesterday and earlier today, that's an amendment. We also have 3 projects related to I-81, the I-81 corridor. We have set aside some funding to allow our district staff to further refine those planning level recommendations in the I-81 corridor study so that we can develop specific projects. And so there's 3 of those projects on the amendment list. In addition to that, we're amending more of the I-81 operational improvements. If you recall, last month we amended 3 projects related to towing and installation of cameras and signs. These are additional operational items for your consideration. And then finally, 7 line items associated with the safety systemic improvements that you heard a presentation about yesterday. And with that, I recommend your approval.
Quick question. Kimberly, are these funds that are a part of the I-81 funding package, or is this outside of the package?
The projects established for project refinement are outside of the I-81.
So we're not authorizing funding before the I-81 committee acts on what the allocations are going to be for various projects or whatever.
So the operational improvements, those are funded with the interstate corridor funds. And so like the projects that we added to the six-year improvement program as a staff recommendation, we'll also inform the advisory committee of these projects as well at the upcoming meeting.
Approval.
Those in favor?
Thank you. The second item is my normal monthly transfers. The transfer list is quite long this month, one, because we didn't meet last month, but also because all of the TAP transfers associated with the efforts to reduce the rescission impacts are on this amendment list. So I recommend your approval.
Moved.
Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Excuse me. Good morning.
Morning, Madam Secretary, members of the board. I have one action item for you today. It is a location approval for the new connector road between Oak Ridge Farm Interchange and to the Danville Expressway and the Southern Virginia Mega site in Pennsylvania County and Lynchburg District. This is also known as the Berry Hill Connector. The purpose of this project is to improve mobility, safety, functionality, and connectivity along the U.S. Route 58 corridor, to reduce travel time for employees and freight associated with the developing Berry Hill Industrial Park, and to boost economic development in the region. A location hearing was held June 6, 2019 in the city of Danville. 3 options were presented at the location hearing. All the options had very similar alignments with the exception of the connection to Route 311 near the industrial park. Option 1 is the preferred alternative and has the shortest length, minimizes environmental and property impacts, and is the most cost-effective option. This option is supported by resolutions from the Pennsylvania Board of Supervisors and the City of Danville City Council. It is also supported by a letter from the MPO. The estimated cost of the project is $33.5 million and is funded with Route 58 corridor funds and local contributions. I'm requesting the approval of option 1 as the location of the proposed 311 connector road, also known as Berry Hill.
Madam Secretary, this is a project we talked about earlier. This is one of the largest mega sites on the East Coast. It's great potential. You have water coming in from Eden, North Carolina, and you got electricity coming in from the west. And with this connector road, it'll give a great opportunity for multi-hundred, if not multi-thousand, employee companies to consider the site. And the Secretary and her staff and the Commissioner worked very hard on this issue for a long time. So this will make everybody in Pennsylvania County and the City of Danville, and of course our governor's always pushed rural jobs. And this is going to be a great send-off. And I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Aye.
Thank you.
Missed you earlier.
Been
Great
working on
stand-in
81.
though. Let's see, Ms. Snyder. Good morning.
I have 2 items this morning, and the first is a limited access control change, which would be a shift in the limited access along Route 288 in Chesterfield County. This shift would allow for development, and it would also allow for a shift in the right-of-way limits, which would create a surplus property that we could also convey. VDOT has reviewed this, and we recommend your approval.
Moved.
Are we conveying the property with this vote, or is it just the possibility that it could be?
The possibility.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The second item that I have for your consideration is a locality land conveyance. The City of Hampton has requested by resolution the conveyance of some real estate for a portion of North Mallory Street. Hampton maintains this section of road currently, and this transfer would officially transfer the road from the state highway system to the urban road system for the City of Hampton. VDOT has
discussion.
Would note, I think, how long ago was this? This is like a 40-year-old piece of land we never gave back to them. I think it's Really, I think it's a pretty old thing, isn't it? 1947. Better late than never.
Anything else? Those- All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Wouldn't be a meeting without you.
Madam Secretary, members of the board, I have 2 items for your action this morning. The first project is order number A72. This is a Hampton Roads District project in James City County. We had 6 bidders on this project. The bids came in slightly higher than the L&D estimate, but within the range of the valued estimate. After conducting our bid analysis, we find that the bids represent both market value and a good value for the Commonwealth, and we recommend for your approval.
Second.
I just have a question. So this says smart scale road widening. Where does the delta come from in the funding?
This project actually had a surplus, so I would say that the L&D estimate was a little aggressive. I will defer to Kim if she wants to speak further on the funding.
There was actually a plus on this project, so we're fine on this one.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next project is order number B41. This is a Lynchburg District project in Campbell County. We had 5 bidders on this project. Again, it was slightly higher than the L&D estimate, but was within the range of the evaluative estimate. And after conducting our analysis, we find that it represents market value and are recommending for approval.
Yes, ma'am, move approval too. That's at the Lynbrook Exchange. I'll be sure.
It's Route 683. I can. It is Lynbrook.
Can't keep with the numbers, Madam
It's
Secretary.
correct.
I'm the old-fashioned names. I move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Carol, just a question. I'm noticing that we're seeing more bidders in this poll. Is there a market dynamic that we're noticing here?
These types of construction jobs we typically see good competition on. So it really depends on the type of project and the level of competition. But so right now we're experiencing some tightening market on smaller bridge projects, but like construction jobs we're doing widening or road reconstruction projects are very competitive.
We're still seeing less competition in asphalt jobs.
Certain areas, yes.
What about our diversity with regard to our supplier pool? Are we seeing diverse suppliers involved in the process?
Yes, sir.
Not to beat a dead horse, but I see it's a smart scale as well. Is it similar?
This one I'm going to let Kim, this one's a little more complex.
This project was over the estimate, and the increase was actually within the threshold permitted by the board's smart scale policy. So we have administratively moved funding to cover the award amount.
Secretary, might I suggest they do such a nice write-up on these for us. Maybe we just need a paragraph for the smart scale ones that reminds us what's going
Moving forward.
And when Mr. Cables presents this to me, I'm always wondering, when are we going to be below the estimate? Because now we're always within, as you all know. So that's actually, being where we are, that's a really good idea. Okay, is that it? We've
Need to vote.
on. I would not vote on this.
Oh, do I have motions?
And then second.
You know what, I think I did it on a bid last time, didn't I? So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. It's like Mr. Williams, I'm trying to okay, let's go, yes.
And I'm sure the commissioner and his staff really can't even keep up with this market in terms of their sprinted out so fast. Every time you adopt changes to the market's changing again. So much work out there. There's contractors are really busy.
Workforce.
Being very selective. They can't hire truck drivers. They can't hire equipment operators. Just get used to seeing it for a
is that we do have the cost estimating task force that's been pulled together that is looking at how we do this. And Mr. Kasperowitz or Mr. Johnson, if you want to, or actually,
It's
I think
Mr.
it's
Malvin who's joining me on that.
We are trying to get our arms around it. It is sprinting ahead of us. However, it's ever changing. So the dynamics are certainly there, and how do we best do it and take those best practices? So at some point, when the task force gets to a better point, and Bart has some, or our chief engineer has some additional information, we'll bring that back to the committee.
Monster created by a great, celebrate that part of it, even though it's painful to do this every month.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, just like to make a comment about the trades and how you get certification. We talked previously about the community college system in Virginia. It just 2 years ago celebrated its 50th year. And one of the key aspects within the community college system is their job training and certification, and trucking and all the various trades, depending on what community college location you have some of those available. And if they don't have them available in your area, you can go back into the Richmond office, through the chancellor's office, and find a way to be able to move those into your area. So I'd highly recommend we take a look at that.
Great idea. In fact, the governor just last month announced a program called Fast Forward to try to help get truckers licensed. It's a partnership between DMV and the community college, and they don't even have to come to the DMV to get it. So anyway, I was meeting with the Virginia Trucking Association earlier in the week, and anyway, there's a workforce issue everywhere. I will close out just with, under new business, actually on this issue, this past month we had a swam event over for the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. And Sandra Norman, with our Civil Rights Division, headed that event, was part of the leadership on that event. It was hosted by the Hampton Roads Connector Partners, the contractors for the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, but certainly in partnership with VDOT, who's been doing this for a very long time. It was an amazing event. The number of people there at the convention center, meeting with contractors, with the opportunity on this project up to $1 billion available contracts for DB and SWAM. Talk about contributing to the economy. And we're really trying to build up our small businesses and women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, disadvantaged businesses, trying to develop them so they become prime contractors, and then we're able to kind of grow our own here in Virginia. It was so successful that they are looking to do a second event in the evening. So anyway, just transportation, workforce, part of the economy. I talk about, how can transportation contribute to workforce recruitment, job creation, business investment. And this was just a very visible sign about how we do that every day. So just really want to say thank you to Sandra Norman and her whole team, to Amy White, who was a coordinator with our office on the event, and Jim Utterbeck and Paula Miller.
Secretary, you were actually reading my mind. I was actually going to ask. I know that from time to time we've had reports on.
I try my best to do that.
You're great at that. You're clairvoyant. From time to time we've had reports or updates provided to the board on how we're doing on our DBE and SWAM initiatives. I know it's part of the state's larger initiative, but VDOT's a big portion of that spend. Is it possible, it didn't have to be necessarily a board presentation, but just to provide the board with an update on kind of where we are with regard to our goals and so forth?
I would be happy to update you on our FY18 numbers. We actually surpassed our goals, awarding $395 million of DBE and SWAM contracts. So it was a very successful year. The governor has put in an executive order to inspire us and encourage us to get to 42%. Those of us within the executive branch to do this across the board, not any one single project. But I will say on the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel contract itself, within the contract is 32%. So it's pretty remarkable. And really, what's inspiring to me is to see these contractors really reach out to these companies, really because they can get the brightest, most innovative, most energetic, talented people. So it is a win-win, and you really feel that when you see it. Really well done. And, you know, it would be really great, I think, for Sandra to come and give her presentation. I think I mentioned that to Amy, just about amazing work that they do, really amazing.
And it speaks to the issue that Mr. Kaspowitz and some of us have been concerned about. If you can grow these diverse contractors, small, women, minority-owned, it helps us, right? It creates the competition that
Absolutely.
maintains the market and pricing, and so it's good for business. I know at Dominion, we've been very aggressive in this area. Of course, there's this other project happening downtown that there's been a large commitment made to SWAM, and I think it's just, there's a lot of activity and energy around the space, and anything we can do to kind of help stoke that fire would be great, especially with the scope of work that we're pushing out in the next, 6 years.
And, you know, and I think to really see, we set goals, and that's really important. And on the ground, you see that people aren't trying to reach a number. They really do need these. So anyway, really, really good work, I have to say. Any other new business?
Madam Secretary.
Mr. Whitworth.
The commissioner in his comment reminded me of something I've been meaning to request. That is, there have been significant changes in our organizational charts throughout that I think it is probably a good time to do a supplement to our handbook for pages 7 through 27 that would show the new organizational charts, the new leadership changes, even in our own around here, there are 4 positions that have changed in what we were showing in here. So I would ask that maybe a supplement of those 20 pages could be done and given to everyone.
Yes, Mr. Rucker, you want to add?
Oh, no, I was just saying that.
And Madam Secretary.
Ms. Hines.
Just to confirm, there will be some sort of CTB meeting prior to the governor's conference, is that correct?
There will be, we're meeting in October, there will be a CTB meeting. It may be both a workshop and an action meeting. I'm not quite sure what we're going to need. But in the coming months, we have a lot of reports and studies to complete. And I need to get with Ms. Maxwell about exactly which ones will require a CTB vote, and we need to key them all up. So yes, there will be a meeting. There will be a meeting in November. It'll be very short. It would be, no, it's going to be in conjunction with the summit, the Innovation Summit. Marshall, do you want to say what those dates are for the Innovation Summit up in, do you know? Oh. It's an Innovation Summit.
I'm going to pull it up on my
looking, I
calendar.
don't see Ronique in the room.
But it's the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the week before Thanksgiving, so I'm pulling up those dates because I have them in my calendar. There we go. November 21st, 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
The morning of the 20th, we are actually looking to hold a meeting, a CTB meeting.
On Tuesday.
Not on Tuesday. It would be Wednesday morning.
Virginia?
In Crystal City. And the name of the hotel? Oh, maybe.
The hotel is the Hyatt Regency. We have a block set aside.
Relatively recently, yeah.
We need to have the votes, the presentation and the votes, one or the other, in November to meet December 1st deadlines, and then we have many other deadlines before the General Assembly. So we have 21 new studies and reports, and there was just no way we could get this all completed and voted on to meet deadline. And it's really, to your credit, the result of the 81 study. It went really well. We did a study, we introduced legislation, we have it funded in a year.
Secretary, you said you would hope it would be a very brief meeting. Do you have an idea what that means?
That's just for that Wednesday.
But we will not have presentations. It will be really, it might be presentations of reports or studies, but it, we hope we have moved many of that forward so we can bring the studies in. That's the plan. Okay, happy Columbus Day to you all. I will see you in October. Meeting adjourned.
Have a flight out.